All right, good afternoon. So this is for my speech class. This is our third presentation. As per the requirements, this is our 5-person audience. And set the camera back up and we will get started. All right, good afternoon everybody. My name is Chris Holland and I'm going to be giving our third speech today for the speech 13-15 class. So today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about your pets. So if anybody in here is an animal lover, you know probably one of the best things that you can have in life is coming home to a furry friend who cares about you, who's part of the family, who greets you, who comforts you. And sadly, for millions of animals every year, that's not a dream that gets realized. So due to an extreme overpopulation in this country of pets, there are millions of animals each year who are unfortunately put to sleep and euthanized in various clinics across the country. The main reason for this is the fact that there is a huge overpopulation and so many people do not spay or neuter their animals. So I have been a pet owner for most of my life, and one thing I've always tried to do is to make sure that my pet animals are spayed and neutered, to keep that from being part of the problem. I also have referenced a number of resources that support this claim, and we will be going over some of that information today. So the big question is, why should you spay or neuter your pet? So first, let's discuss the need and familiarize ourselves with the topic. So first of all, what exactly is spaying and or neutering? The Riverside Drive Animal Care Center lists the definition respectively as the act of desexing an animal through surgical removal of reproductive organs. It is performed with 3 major purposes: to control animal population growth, to limit sexually based behaviors, and to decrease the likelihood of certain diseases that can occur in animals later on in life. Now, it's impossible to determine the exact number of strays in the country, but the Community Care College estimates there to be upwards of 70 million stray animals in the United States alone. This huge number is due to the ability of unaltered dogs and cats to reproduce quickly and exponentially. So according to CAIT, the first heat cycle for most dogs occurs between 6 and 18 months of age, with cycles that then occur every 6 to 7 months. With each of these cycles, they can then have an additional 2 to 20 puppies per litter. And as those puppies get older and exponentially create more and more litters, you see where the problem comes from. Cats, it's actually even a little bit worse. They have smaller litters, but they can reproduce as early as 5 months old. And so one of the big issues that you have is people who are expecting to be able to spay or neuter their cats whenever they're of a certain age, and that age is actually quite a bit sooner than most people realize. So a dog is pregnant only for about 2 months or so, the same with cats, and cats have 4 to 5 kittens as often as they can physically reproduce. So there's really no heat routine for cats. And this has caused a significant overpopulation problem, and there's not nearly as many responsible homes to take care of all these animals. So according to sitstay.com, between 1 and 2 million animals are euthanized in shelters every year. DDFL.org lists the number between 3 and 4 million annually, estimating between 6 and 8 million animals that enter the shelters every year, with the cost of taking care of these animals, both for reproductive care costs as well as euthanasia costs, being millions and millions of dollars per community. With millions of these animals, only about 30% of dogs and 2 to 5% of cats are actually retrieved by their owners after they are given to the shelter. Now, Community Care College also states that 7.6 million animals enter the system each year, and that less than 40% of both dogs and cats respectively are adopted out. So between 31 and 41% of those animals end up being euthanized, which is a tremendous number of animals that have to be put down. And while the American Humane Society states that the 2 biggest causes of this issue is both overpopulation as well as reproductive cycle of the animals in addition to being relinquished by their owners, Community Care College states that roughly twice as many animals are the result of overpopulation and reproductive breeding than are actually turned over by their owners. So there's a lot of reasons why people will justify not spaying or neutering their animals. They say that they're either the inconvenience, they don't believe that the animals can be, the procedure can be done quite so young, a fear that the pets will become overweight, and a lack of understanding of the procedure itself are among the leading reasons people make this decision. So, what do we do to overcome these issues, and what do we do to convince people to consistently spay and neuter their pets? So, with some people, breeders in particular, there may not be a big hurry to get the spaying or the neutering done. But what we know about this is that if we are adamant about it and we get the education piece down, that this will significantly impact the problem of the overpopulation and reduce the amount of euthanasia that has to go on in these shelters. Although some The animals may gain weight after the procedure. According to sitstay.com, altered females actually have a reduced risk of breast cancer and no risk of uterine cancer, so there is a increased health aspect to the animals. And neutered males lose the risk of testicular cancer for obvious reasons. One misconception, which has been historically raised as alarm and prevented some people from sterilizing their pets, is the notion that you have to wait until the animal is of a particular age. And actually, some of these procedures are actually done as early as 10 to 12 weeks old, so and done very safely. And what you'll find with those outcomes is that actually a lot of the behavioral issues that get addressed by this are actually addressed a lot more succinctly, because the animals don't go through that pubescent period and start to develop some of those negative behaviors they get from excess testosterone, excess estrogen. The general consensus is that dogs and cats can be spayed and neutered before 6 months, but again, 10 to 12 weeks is about the earliest you can get. And according to Kate, the procedure should ideally be performed prior to the first heat cycle, and in spite of rumors to the contrary, this can actually reduce the risk of mammary tumors as well. There's also a rumor that something keeps people from wanting to spay or neuter their pets, that spaying and neutering reduces an animal's likelihood to protect their owner. They think that it reduces its protectiveness. And this is not true, because the only behaviors that are mitigated from spaying and neutering are sexually related behaviors. So conversely, some overly aggressive animals can actually be tempered a little bit by having spaying and neutering done at an early age. Now, sitstay.com also mentions that non-altered pets are prone to marking their territory and to running away from home and searching mates. So early spaying and neutering will reduce the risk of both of those behaviors as well. So what should you be aware of before making the decision to spay or neuter your pet? So it has to be understood that not everything is an upside. Now, the upsides greatly outweigh the downsides in this instance, but there are some downsides to be aware of as well. So according to the American Veterinary Medical Association, or AVMA, neutering actually reduces cognitive function in older animals. They think that the testosterone and the estrogen being present in the animals throughout the course of their life actually improves their cognitive function when they get a little bit older. And this is new information for us, because it's only been in the last few decades that we've had veterinary medicine effective enough to keep our animals alive to that point that we see this change. So that is one thing to be aware of. If your pet does go into greater stages of life, then they may have diminished cognitive function. Spaying and neutering does in fact mean sterilization. So I know that seems pretty obvious, pretty intuitive. But if anybody is breeding their animals or has the intent of trying to have a litter of puppies or a litter of cats, then they need to be aware that this is going to inhibit that. There's also a matter of the fact that sterilization is an invasive surgical procedure, and there can be side effects, unwanted outcomes, and pain associated with the procedure. Now, according to Kate, pain can be largely mitigated with preventive measures, and the procedure is conducted under general anesthesia with pain medications prescribed for post-operative care. It's also true that the procedure will slow metabolism, which causes increased weight gain, but this can usually be addressed by reducing the amount of food that is given to the animal and performing a procedure at a young enough age where the animal remains active despite the change of the hormonal levels. It should also be known that spaying and neutering is not considered to be a quick fix for certain behavioral problems. So animals that already have some sort of a behavioral issue will not... No. Sorry, 1 second. I know, kind of tough. So animals that exhibit some level of a behavioral issue will probably not be fixed by having them spayed or neutered. Alright, so what can you do to help? So according to ddfl.org, the most important step is making sure animals are wearing identification. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but what that does is make it to where if you happen to lose a dog, there's a better chance of the dog coming back to you if it's found by local authorities, as opposed to being put in a shelter and being another one that is euthanized. So in addition to spaying and neutering, this helps ensure animals who are lost are returned to their owners. Next, spay and neuter your pets. Encourage your friends and coworkers to spay and neuter as well. And we're looking for a new pet, look only to local shelters. Try and avoid puppy mills or unseen animals, and stick with Humane Society endorsed local shelters. So I'd like to thank you all for your attention to this issue. In summary, it is imperative that we always spay and neuter our pets. Follow the guidelines posted on ASPCA website for proper care of your animal prior to surgery. If you adhere to the American Humane Society's principles of adopting only from certified shelters and always spaying and neutering your animals, and choose to educate your friends, children, and family members on the importance of the issue. That's not going away, so as long as we can maintain the education piece, we should be able to improve it. So until the issue of overpopulation is resolved, all pets need to be spayed and neutered. Please, for the sake of millions of animals who will never find their forever homes, heed this advice and make the responsible decision. Thank you all for your time and attention, and good luck to everyone else throughout the course.